all these props and a fence behind her and a tennis racket and more stuff for only 18,000 yen. Hi and welcome back to the channel. I'm Steven. Today with a scale figure review. This is something that has came out more than a year ago, but you know, with Azur Lane stuff, a lot of them bargain bin because they are overproduced. This is quite the value offering from Mimeyoi, Japanese figure brand, where there are two versions of this Bremerton figure over here. There is a simpler version at only 14,000 yen, and on paper it is 1/7 scale. And there is the deluxe version you're looking at over here with all these props and a fence behind her and a tennis racket and more stuff for only 18,000 yen MSRP. However, even though this figure is so cheap, the price still binned anyway. And I got one for the equivalent of 10,800 Japanese yen, which is roughly 500 Chinese yuan, right? So we are getting into low budget scale figure territory from China, except this is a premium scale figure from Japan. Why not? Just that I had to wait more than a year to pick one up. Okay, so first things first. Introductions. This is Mimeyoi's 1/7 scale Bremerton. And yeah, from Azur Lane in this sportswear outfit playing tennis. Going for officially 18k, as I mentioned earlier, 18,000 Japanese yen, released in May 2024, so more than a year ago. And by today, you can find her at a big discount. Naturally, I purchased mine from Taobao, from China, because number one, the bargain bin is there, and number two, shipping from China to my country is a lot cheaper than Japan to my country, so it is a no-brainer. During my figure haul video a few weeks back, I just said that this figure is 1/6. Confidently. And then I checked myfigurecollection.net. Apparently, it is 1/7, but the dimensions are pretty much in 1/6 scale territory. So the entire figure from the bottom of the base all the way to the top of the fence over here, it is around 22.5 centimeters. And figure only, right? From the bottom of her foot over here to the top of her head over here, that is roughly 16.5, 17 centimeters. That is 1/6 scale territory. And if you display her next to your 1/7 scale Azur Lane figures, it is even the more obvious, right? This is very big. And one more relevant dimensions for this figure, the width, right? Because of her fence over here. That is not including her tennis bag. So from one end to the other end of the fence over here, that is around 22 centimeters as well. So do factor that into budgeting your display space. Meanwhile, I also received request for the depth of a figure, front to back dimensions. For this one, it is roughly 16 to 17 centimeters. To be safe, 17 cm. Yeah. Now, moving on to the unboxing process, you guys saw it in my figure haul video. The packaging is relatively unique. I have never seen a figure being packed this way, and even though the box was very simple, very plain, it feels like unboxing something premium. I think the presentation of the product of the figure is excellent coming from Mimeyoi. So let me bring up the box for a second. So this is what the box looks like. This is pretty much minimalist design, right? Yeah, and you lift the entire plastic front up, and then you're supposed to unbox it with the front facing upwards. It feels like unboxing some expensive jewelry or accessory. This packaging is unique. It is very solid. This is a tough box. Very thick materials all around except the front. So this is a high score coming from me. This is an 8.5 out of 10 for packaging. 8.5 or even 9. Yeah, simple, but it works very well. So this is a heavy box. Even the empty box without figure, this is quite heavy. There's some weight to it. So great box overall. No complaints from me. Moving on to the assembly process, yes, there are a lot of extra parts in the box because this is the deluxe variant. But even without the instruction sheet, I think you will be able to assemble the figure without any issues. It was easy to put together, except the foot peg is a bit tricky because there is only one foot peg on one side. The other leg has a metal part on the bottom, which corresponds to another metal part in the base, and I'm not quite sure if it is a magnet. It is not a very strong magnet if it is even one, but the figure is secure enough because her left hand behind the figure is grabbing on the fence, so this is a very secure figure. And if I were to shake the figure, the thing is rock solid, does not wobble at all, right? Yep, the fence will shake, but the main figure is rock solid. Stability is a 10 out of 10 for this figure. And speaking of the tennis bag with the KFC over there, that is what I prefer to call manju. I struggled to look for a space to display the tennis bag right in my figure haul video. Admittedly, it was me being lazy, not referring to the official product pictures first, and as it turns out, no, you're supposed to place it somewhere around the figure. It is not supposed to be placed on top of the base because there is indeed no space at all. Anyways, not complaining. A lot of stuff over here for under 18,000 yen, and in my case, 11,000 yen. So moving on to the sculpting of this figure, detail levels are slightly below average for a premium scale figure. But then you need to consider the kind of figure we're dealing with over here and the price point, which is way below an average scale figure price today. So I wouldn't expect too much, right? I adjust my expectations based on the price point of the figure and also the brand and the history as well. So we are getting pretty much sportswear, and her top over here is just color injected translucent material, and you get to see through her bra underneath, which is a nice piece of detail, but it is also not a detail that you will be able to appreciate well, simply because unfortunately that top over there is getting in the way, and no, you cannot cast off that top. Getting to the face of this figure, I compare it to the official product pictures, I would say it is fairly accurate. I can give it an 8 out of 10 easily, 8.5 even. But Mimeyoi is not a brand that has a perfect track record of getting the face right. You know, the 1x4 scale Taiho that eventually I caved in and purchased one, simply because of the bargain bin. Yeah, I had complaints about that Taiho figure for a long time because of her mouth, which looks like buck teeth, right? Looks like teeth protruding out. Fortunately, I think the face looks fine over here. If you want to get a little bit more nitpicky, maybe there are other brands out there like Alter or even Apex Toys, which got her face slightly nicer, but at this price point, I think she looks very nice already, so I'm happy with her so far. However, if I were to nitpick the sculpt of this figure a little bit, her fingers, right, especially on her right hand over here, holding the water bottle, I would like to know what you think about it, because from my perspective over here, especially when I'm looking at her right hand from above, it looks like her fingers are kind of long. A bit longer than usual, though it is not uncommon for some women to have skinny and long fingers, but the more I look at her right hand, the more it feels like her fingers are a little bit too long to my liking at least. Meanwhile, on the back over here, her left hand holding on the fence over here, it looks a lot better for some reason. So I'm not sure if the size of her hand, her right hand and her left hand are slightly different or what. I can't directly compare it when, you know, the position of the fingers is a bit different, so that might distort my perception a little bit, but it feels like her right hand over here, the fingers are slightly too long. Just nitpicking, but maybe there is some truth to it. The next thing that I would like to point out is regarding the quality control of the sculpt. Fortunately, there are no quality control issues in the sculpt segment. No ugly gaps or seam lines, no glue leaking out from different parts, no mold lines. So the sculpt side is fairly competent. I would give it a 7.5 out of 10 maximum. Yeah, not more than that because this is a lower detail figure. I can't give it a very high score. Moving on to paintwork. This is where we are starting to see why this figure is relatively affordable. The first part I would like to address is her hair, right? I did mention it in my figure haul video as well. My early impressions was that the figure looked fairly dull. Some figures, when you look at the official product pictures alone, and once again, let me bring up Taiho by Mimeyoi, the 1x4. That is a very good example of the moment you saw the figure, your reaction was, wow, the color just screams. The color just stands out so much. It is so shiny. It is so attractive, you know, makes you want to buy the figure. This is the exact opposite of that because the entire figure looks dull and muted. The full matte coating is not really helping. So, my opinion, this figure could have looked a lot better, a lot more attractive to potential collectors if her hair is not matte but maybe semi-gloss. Yeah. So, the matte finish over here combined with the light pink and a bit of, I don't know, it is like pale yellow or cream color accent on the top of her head over here. It almost feels like looking at the figure where the paint is fading off. That is the feeling you get. I feel like something should be done to make the figure stand out a bit more, and I think a better coating would do this figure a lot more justice if it makes any sense. Yeah. So given that she's wearing this outfit over here, which is guaranteed to be finished in matte because, you know, sports outfit, the kind of cloth that are used to make these outfits, they are kind of matte finish. They are not very shiny unless you wear the nylon ones like I do. Polyester nylon. This is a Nike shirt, as you can see, polyester nylon. So this kind of cloth is fairly shiny, right? And I love this kind of material. And there are other kinds of outfit made for sports where it does not have this shiny finish. So it really depends. This is personal preference. It is subjective. I am totally fine with her outfit being in matte finish, but at least I think that her hair should look nicer. This is purely a very subjective opinion of mine. It is not a flaw at all, right? The best example for semi-gloss is her tennis bag. Very smooth finish, very nice to the touch, very heavy dose of shading, a lot of detail in the paintwork, and boy, the zip looks so well painted, so precise. So this is an example of a semi-gloss finish, which I think they should have applied to the hair as well. Paintwork wise, quality control is there. There are no major paint bleeding or scratches or paint transfer. None of that sort at all. The more I inspect the figure, the more I'm impressed by it. Even the paint on the fence over here looks very nice. I'm not sure if I like this translucent material being used for the fence. I think it should be full metallic, right? Because I'm too realist for my own good, right? I look at things in a realistic way. The way I see it for the fence over here is that the paintwork should be metallic silver or even chrome, and then you put a bit of gunmetal gray on the shading areas over here for a darker shade of color. Yeah, these translucent parts should be chrome silver. That is my subjective opinion once again. Nothing wrong with it. So you look carefully at her tennis racket or even the tennis balls on the floor. Everything has color gradients and shading. So this is actually a fairly well painted figure that I can give at least 7.5 out of 10 for the paintwork. Just that the color choice is a bit muted, a bit dull, so it may not be everyone's cup of tea. It can look a little bit dull at first. Now moving on to the last part of this figure, which is the base, we do get this heavy piece of acrylic, very thick, very heavy, very nice to look at. Just that the top surface over here is still a fingerprint and a scratch magnet, so be careful. 10 out of 10 for the base, but that is provided your base is perfect with no defects at all. So this is where the only quality control related issue is found on my copy of this Bremerton figure. On the front over here, you can see this defect right here, which I am not quite sure how to describe. It looks like something caused by a physical impact. You drop the base, it landed on the floor exactly at that part. That is likely what you will be getting for material like this. So I could only give my copy of this figure 9 out of 10 for the base because of that defect. But if you get a perfect one, then it is a 10 out of 10 base because the base feels expensive and premium, and you are kind of getting a diorama that does not take up too much space, adding more detail to the figure. So arriving at my conclusion for today's figure review, this Bremerton, if you can find her at a bargain price of under 12,000 yen maybe, yeah, less than 12k, I think it is a no-brainer purchase for fans of Azur Lane. I'm not even a big Azur Lane collector. I purchased one simply because, you know, it is affordable and it is an opportunity for me to review another figure, make another video for my channel, so why not? So that is all for today's figure review. If you found it informative or helpful, please to give this video a like, subscribe to this channel for more anime figure content every week. And until then, thanks for watching. I'll see you soon. Goodbye.